Talk Show. I'm Craig Koger.
And I'm Nick Bodkins.
And we're going to get it started with two NFL games going yesterday. The first game of the day was the Packers and the Bears. Packers win this game by 7, move on to the Super Bowl. What's your take on this game?
Well, this game was actually a pretty good game. It had a potential to be a blowout. Green Bay looks like they're down there in the third quarter going to score a touchdown. Or even kick a field goal up 17-0, and then Brian Urlacher intercepts it. But I think the play of the game and maybe the play of the day was the Aaron Rodgers tackle of Brian Urlacher. I really thought that saved a touchdown, and maybe change that could, if Urlacher scores a touchdown. The Bears are in this game, only down, and their defense gets up, and their defense played really well the second half of the game. Not so much the first half. Green Bay, the first drive went right down and scored a touchdown. You're thinking to yourself, oh man, they're looking just like they did against Atlanta. But their defense stayed well, and the Bears just came up short offensively. We'll get into the Jay Cutler situation here in a little bit. But as far as Green Bay, I thought they played well. Their defense played well. I thought these two defenses would be different, and the only difference would be the offense. And Bears didn't make the plays down the stretch to win the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. In this game, I think the better team won. I think the Green Bay Packers, we've been saying it all year since preseason that they were the favorite and they were the best team in the NFC. They were the best built team with the players and talent that they have. But in a game like this, I picked Chicago in this game because of special teams, because of running the ball. And normally when Chicago's playing, they have the best field position in the game. That wasn't the case yesterday. Green Bay pretty much owned the field position. In the first half, they were passing the ball, 20-yard passes left and right from Aaron Rodgers. The defense settled in the second half, only allowing Green Bay to score 14 points offensively. To me, Chicago Bears defense got the job done. It was the offense that came up short. Jay Cutler couldn't finish the game. They ended up going through 3 quarterbacks. Caleb Haney came in, played the game good, made it a game, made it exciting down to the last minute, but in the end the Green Bay Packers won. I think the Green Bay Packers were the better team in this game.
Yeah, I picked Green Bay and I thought they were the better team. I've been picking them all year, and I picked them to win the Super Bowl, but we'll get into the preview of that game later on. Going in, talking about the Bears offense, I thought they should have done a screen plays for, Devin Hester. Try to get him in some space, because that's your most #1 lethal weapon. Their punter Tim Mastey of Green Bay did an excellent job of not punting to Devin Hester. Pinning him down. They didn't even hardly get the ball across Green Bay's side of the field the whole first half. Green Bay was on the Bears' side of the field all game long. And luckily for the Bears' defense, the Bears' good defense, this could have been a blowout. Moving on, Jay Cutler, we hit a little bit last segment there. Did not finish the game. Sat out the third quarter, sat out the whole fourth quarter. Didn't look, wasn't getting trained. Like we said, his knee. A lot of players have come out and bashed Jay Cutler. What's your thoughts on this?
You know what? My thoughts are, if you're a paid NFL professional, if you say you're hurt, then I want to believe that you're hurt, and especially in this kind of a game. But my take throughout the league, I'd say there's at least 20 out of the 31 quarterbacks, 32 quarterbacks in the league that would have stayed in this game. This is all or nothing. This is your season, and not only is this the NFC Championship game, this is the NFC Championship game, Bears versus Packers in Soldier Field. This is probably the biggest game that's been played there in over 2 decades, and pretty much you got to be able to not stand, you got to be able to not walk. We saw Phillip Rivers play in the playoffs with a torn ACL a couple years ago. We saw it done in college also with Byron Leftwich playing with an injury, with his teammates carrying him up to the line of scrimmage to take the snap, and that's in college football. So in NFL, in this kind of situation, I'm not questioning Jay Cutler was injured. I'm not going to say that he came out of the game purposely, but in this kind of a situation, man, you got to give it everything.
Deion Sanders may have said it best. I don't question the guy's injury, but you got to question the guy's heart. I know a lot of people would have loved to have been in Jay Cutler's position. This is the biggest game, and this is Bears Packers. And I think I look at it as this: you saw the difference in the 2 quarterbacks yesterday. Cutler gets hurt, he sits out. Aaron Rodgers took a shot from Julius Peppers. His lips bleeding. You know what? He straps it back on, and he's ready to go. And all I think you're thinking why Aaron Rodgers getting hurt is hopefully he doesn't get another concussion. But he probably would have tried to kept playing even with the concussion, because this is the Bears Packers, the NFC Championship game. It's the biggest game. You're right. Jay Cutler it seemed like he didn't want to play. He's sitting on the sidelines. He's not. The trainers weren't working on him. And you got to think Jay Cutler still even though Haney and came back with the Bears, Cutler still gives you the best chance. With that arm and everything else, he's your starter guy, and he's got to say, you know what, I can do this for my team. And I don't think I've ever seen so many NFL players come out and just bash a player like they're doing it with Jay Cutler.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, in this situation, Jay Cutler, I kind of feel bad for the guy, but this is a huge game, and the Bears, whenever the game started out, like you said, they should have got Devin Hester a little more involved, run some reverses, run some quick slants, and take some of that pressure off of Jay Cutler. And Jay Cutler in the first half was not producing well, and when they came out in the second half, they gave him the first drive, and his body language I mean, it didn't look like a quarterback that was going to lead your team to an NFC championship. And, you know, whoever's decision it was to bring Jay Cutler out, Lovie Smith's decision from what I've heard, I think it was the right decision. Whether Cutler was well enough to go or not, he wasn't getting the job done. His passer rating was 31.2 or something like that in the first half, and in the second half they ran the ball twice for maybe 3 or 4 yards total, and then they gave him one shot to pass it, and he wasn't getting the job done. So whether he really was as hurt as he says he was, whether he could have went or couldn't have gone, it worked out better for the Bears to get him out of the game. And this guy Caleb Haney that nobody's ever heard of actually made the game exciting and made it good to watch into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, back to the Cutler thing though. I just think, man, all the Bears, old Bears guys, gotta be, you gotta be dogging this guy. You know, the Bears Packers. We've seen guys play hurt in this game. This game means a lot to a lot of people. And even though it's just Bears Packers, if it was even a regular season game, we've seen people play hurt. This is for a chance to go to the Super Bowl, biggest game, and we've seen people play hurt. We've seen Brett Favre, play with so many more injuries than what seemed like Cutler had yesterday. And I think we're going to find out a little bit more. Maybe the Bears maybe get rid of Jay Cutler after this. And I don't think a lot of Bears fans will be. They're not too happy with Cutler, and I think they'll be happy to see him go.
Yeah, I think this is just the beginning, really, with Jay Cutler getting all this heat from other NFL players. The fans in Chicago are worse than any of the players in the NFL, and he's going to catch a lot in the offseason. And I think a lot of fans in Chicago will not be disappointed if the Bears do get rid of Jay Cutler.
All right, moving on. The Steelers withstand the Jets' late rally to win the AFC, and will face Green Bay in the Super Bowl. What's your take on the AFC Championship game?
You know what? I love an underdog story. I've liked the Jets all year. I liked what they've been doing. I liked Coach Rex Ryan. But yesterday they got outplayed by the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially in the first half. And before the game, Rex Ryan made it clear and said, we cannot afford to get off to a slow start against this football team. That's exactly what they did, and he was right. They couldn't afford it. They put a spectacular second half together, rallied back, but it still wasn't enough. You can't give Pittsburgh's defense a 24-point cushion and expect to give yourself 2 quarters of football to make that up against that stellar defense.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They got down early. They were down 24-0. The big turnovers, the big hit on Sanchez where Pittsburgh picks it up on the fumble and runs it back in for a touchdown. I thought that was the biggest play of the game. I thought the Jets, when they scored that touchdown, I thought they wasted a little bit too much time off the clock trying to run the football. They were just too slow. You gotta think you're down 2 scores. You're gonna have to keep it moving. Luckily they got that safety. I thought before that Pittsburgh made an excellent goal line stance on the 4th and goal, not letting the Jets in, because if they Jets score, there's plenty of time for them to maybe get the ball back, but having to get the safety and then go back all the way back down the field and try to score the touchdown. I thought they wasted way too much time off the clock. And then, Ben Roethlisberger's just clutch. And we've seen it time and time again. He made the right plays down the stretch to secure that win. They didn't put up a lot of points in the second half, but they didn't need to. They were able to get a lead, and they withstand it and held on to it. And Roethlisberger made enough plays down the stretch, which I thought he would, to win that game, and that's exactly why I picked the Steelers to win that game.
Yeah, and I disagree with a lot of the play calling that the Jets did. Whenever they drove down the field right before they got that safety, they had 1st and goal from about the 1.5-yard line. They ran it on the first play, got about halfway closer to the end zone. Then they decided to pass it on the next 2, give themselves a 4th and 1 against the Pittsburgh defense. Then you decide to try to run it in. If it's me, 4th and 1. With the Jets, they've had one of the best 3rd and 4th down conversion ratios, 1 yard or less. Even though it's Pittsburgh's defense and they're stellar, you got 4 chances to give the ball to LaDainian Tomlinson or Sean Green and try to have them push it in. Instead, they tried to pass the ball. 2 out of their 4 plays, they didn't get it. They didn't get the touchdown. Luckily, they got the safety. And then with more time off the clock, when they get down within the 10-yard line with only 4 minutes to go, then they're handing the ball off. I don't really agree with the play calling that the Jets did, and it really came back and killed them.
Yeah, it did. And moving on a little bit, another quarterback that's having a lot of problems, Carson Palmer's asking to be traded, or he may retire if he's not traded from the Bengals. What's your take on Carson Palmer?
You know what? When the season ended, Carson Palmer was one of the guys that I thought was going to be traded in the offseason. Just doesn't seem to be working there in Cincinnati. A lot of the Bengals fans are giving Carson Palmer a lot of the blame of why that team has just been collapsing the last few years. And he has had a couple injuries, but he's still a good enough quarterback to play in the league. He could go to a team, you know, like San Francisco or Arizona. There's teams out there that need a quarterback. But from what I hear, the Bengals are saying that they're not interested in trading him, and he's talking if the Bengals don't trade him, he could retire. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how all this plays out.
It'll be kind of crazy if he retires, but it'll be like a Jake Plummer. Remember when Jake Plummer got traded to Tampa Bay? He said he didn't want to play for Tampa Bay, so he just out and out retired. You know, some of these guys, if they don't get their way, maybe they'll do that. You know, and you're right. It doesn't seem like it's working in Cincinnati. I think a lot of drama's gone in there. I think he's tired of Ocho Cinco and the whole TO thing. It just hasn't worked out. And maybe if he goes to someplace else, you know, he'll do a better job. I think he's, like you say, he's not a top-notch quarterback, but he's like a second-tier quarterback right now. A couple years ago, he looked like he was on his way to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. You know, Cincinnati, I think you got to keep Carson Palmer. He's your guy. You guys drafted him number one. You kind of built this team around him. You've had some good years with him, and you've also had some bad years with him as well.
All right, moving on real quick to the NBA. All the All-Star picks and All-Star voting is over. Let's get into it real quick. Who's your All-Star picks? We'll start with the Western Conference.
In the Western Conference, I like my center will be Kevin Love. I just think he's a double-double machine. I know he plays power forward, but if you move him to center, you got to put him there. Power forward, I like Blake Griffin, another double-double guy. Him and Love lead the league in doubles-doubles. My guards will be, you know, I like Durant as my forward, and as well, you know, Kevin Durant almost led the league in scoring last year, right up there this year. My guards will be Kobe Bryant. Obviously, you know, we all know who he is, and you know, one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA. And my point guard in the West, you can choose a lot from Westbrook, Paul, and Darren Williams. I got Darren Williams. What he's done with Utah, I think a lot of people thought they'd be down, but he's got them playing well. And another double-double guy. Yeah,
my Western Conference kind of shapes up the same center. I'm going with Kevin Love as well. He's, like you said, been a rebounding machine. That's what you expect out of your center, but he's also putting up 15 to 20 points a game. He's beasting it on a team that doesn't look very good. He's a little under the radar because his team's so bad, but I think he's definitely one of the best players in the league right now at his position. Forwards, I'm going with Kevin Durant. He leads the league in scoring. And I'm going with Dirk Nowitzki, who's he's been injured as of late, but when he's playing, that Dallas Mavericks team is just totally different when he's in and when he's out. He's a star player. He's a top caliber player. I'm going Dirk as a starting forward. And then my guards, I'm obviously going Kobe Bryant. He doesn't lead the league in scoring right now, but he does lead the league in scoring per 48 minutes, which means he's just not getting as many minutes as some of these other guys, but he's as good a scorer as there is in the NBA. And then my point guard, I'm going with Russell Westbrook. In Oklahoma City. I like what he's been doing. He's really stepped his game up, and you know, he's a young guy, and I like what him and Durant have going for him in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Moving on to the Eastern Conference, who you got in the East?
I'm going to start out with my guards. My two guards, the two top guards, in my opinion, in the Eastern Conference is Derrick Rose and Rajon Rondo. Both those guys are, you know, assist machines. Rajon Rondo drops more dimes than Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose is a scorer, and he's a very aggressive player. And there's people talking MVP, you know, Chicago with these teams in the East, with Boston, Orlando, Miami. Not so many people talk about Chicago. They're a little under the radar, but they're one of the best teams in the NBA, and they are where they are because of Derrick Rose. I'm going to go to my forwards. I'm going to go with LeBron James, what he's been doing in Miami. You know, he's got a little better supporting cast, you would say, than what he had in Cleveland, but he's still the same old LeBron James. He can score points, he can rebound, he can block shots, he can cause turnovers. He's a very versatile player. He's an all-star in my opinion. And my other forward, I'm going to go with Amari Stoudemire, what he's been doing in New York. You know, he's setting records for 20-point games, and he's a double-double machine as well. And he looks very comfortable in New York. He's been one of the best players all year. And my center in the Eastern Conference has got to go to Dwight Howard.
Yeah, my East kind of shapes up about the same way as yours does as well. I like Dwight Howard in the center. He's about the best center I think maybe in the NBA. My forwards, I do like Amari. He's kind of changed the Knicks. You know, went through that strain where he's scoring a bunch of 30-point games. He's still right up there. Got the Knicks playing well. My other forward though, I'm going to go with KG instead of LeBron James. I just think KG, what he does for the Celtics, he transforms that team. He is that team, you know, defensively and everything else. And he's just, you know, he's not putting up great numbers, but I just like him a little bit more than I like LeBron James. And maybe I'm a little anti-LeBron as well and anti-Heat. So I'm going to take KG instead of LeBron James. My guards, you're exactly right. I like Derrick Rose. He's my first half MVP. And I also like Rajon Rondo as well. Those are, you know, they're both point guards, but you put them at 1 and 2, it doesn't matter. You know, this is the All-Star